Last time we were reading Who Was Pelé up to chapter 6. Today we are reading Who Was Pelé chapter 7 to chapter 9. Let's get on to it, guys. I hope you subscribe and like and stuff like that. Hope you share it with a friend or, something like that. Hope you like it. Let's get on to it. Chapter 7. One More Championship. As the 1970 World Cup approached, Pelé reconsidered playing for Brazil. The poor sportsmanship of the last cup tournament had concerned him. But if Pelé played for his national team now, he would become one of the handful of players ever to take part in 4 World Cups. By this time, even more people than usual were able to watch Pelé. This was the first World Cup to be broadcast live in color on TV. More than 1 billion people were now watching the greatest player ever. Some had only read about him or seen grainy black and white highlights. In front of this huge audience, Pelé and Brazil put on an amazing show of soccer. Pelé scored a goal in the team's first game. A win over, He then made a pass that led to the only goal in Brazil, 1-0. Win over England. Victories over Peru, Romania and Uruguay sent Brazil to the final game against Italy. Early in the game, Pelé rose above a defender to hit the ball with his head. Pelé smacked the ball off his forehead and into the goal, as he had done more than 1,000 times before. He raced around the field, celebrating with his teammates. The picture of that celebration in Mexico was now being shared around the world. The celebration continued after Brazil won the game and the 3rd World Cup, beating Italy 4-1. Once again, Pelé's teammates and some fans carried him off the field on their shoulders. Before the big party that night, Pelé went back to the dressing room. He took the time to pray and thank God for all that had happened. Once back in Brazil, the team enjoyed more parades and parties. Finally, Pelé left the celebrations behind. He wanted to be back in Santos with Rosemary, who was pregnant. In August, their son Edson was born, but everyone called him by his nickname, Edino. After the 1970 World Cup, Pelé wanted to go back and finish high school. He wanted to eventually go to college. As he traveled more and more, he realized how important education was. He wanted to set an example for his children, but to earn a spot at a university, he had to pass some tough tests. He worked with teachers and studied hard. Pelé was accepted at the University of Santos in the fall of 1970. Over the next 3 years, he took classes in between playing soccer games for Santos and earned a degree in physical education. During this time, he decided to stop playing for Brazil's national team for good. After a game on July 18, 1971, he took off his bright yellow jersey for the final time. He ran a lap around the field to thank the 1,800 people who had packed the stadium. In his final years with Santos, he made sure to use his fame to help other players. For many years, pro soccer players in Brazil were not paid anything near what they deserved. They also not protected as other workers were. If a player was injured, some team would not even pay their medical bills. Pelé and other star players met with government officials trying to correct this. They didn't get far, and it would be years before the situation improved. Pelé also got a chance to teach soccer to children. He signed a deal with Pepsi that created a worldwide series of soccer clinics. Pelé planned the lesson and even worked at some of the clinics. He also recorded a video with his good friend Santos coach Julio Mazzil that showed young people how to improve their soccer skills. And then Pelé wrapped up his long career with the Santos team in a game on October 2, 1974. He suddenly grabbed the ball with his hands. He ran with it to the center of the circle of the field and knelt down with his hands in the air. This was a signal to everyone in the stadium that he was leaving the field and the sport for good. It took a moment for everyone to realize what Pelé meant, but they understood. The crowd realized what I was doing, he wrote later. I was honoring them for the years they had honored me. And that was it. As the crowd cheered and his teammates and opponents clapped, Pelé walked slowly down off the field for the final time in Brazil. With the Santos and Brazil teams, Pelé had already conquered most of the world of soccer. He was only the three-time world champion and was among the leading goal scorers of all time. He was a Brazilian national treasure and a hero to billions of fans around the world. But he had his eye on a new goal, the United States. Chapter 8. Pelé's triumphs continue. During the entire span of Pelé's career in Brazil, soccer had not been very popular in the United States. Some immigrant Americans followed the team from their native countries. But even though there was a national team, very few Americans played. In 1968, a new professional league was formed, hoping to bring the world sport to the United States, the North American Soccer League, NASL, wanted to attract attention, so it recruited soccer stars from around the world. In 1975, after he left Santos, Pelé was asked to join the New York Cosmos. He was 34 years old and his best playing days were behind him, but he still loved the game, and he was willing to try something new. And the Cosmos understood that world-famous Pelé could attract new fans to the sport. But first, Brazil had to let him go. U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, a soccer fan, persuaded Brazil's president to allow Pelé, the national treasure, to play in the United States. The Cosmos gave Pelé a contract that paid him almost 4 times more than the highest paid American baseball players at the time. It was more money than Pelé had earned in all his years, with Santos combined more than $4 million. This great star arrived to a mixed reaction. Soccer fans were thrilled. Many American sport writers, however, didn't understand all the fuss. How could you love a sport when you can't use your hands? They joked. Surprisingly, the Cosmos' early game with Pelé were not sellouts. The team lost more games than it won. It had been a huge risk for the Cosmos to bring Pelé to New York. By 1977, however, the gamble had paid off. The Cosmos had become a huge hit everywhere they played. The games were all televised. Huge crowds packed stadiums across the country. Other great stars joined Pelé on the team, including Germany, France, Beckenbauer, and Italy's Giorgio Caniglia. During Pelé's third season, the Cosmos won the Soccer Bowl, the national championship game. When Pelé decided to end his career in America, a special farewell match was held at Giant Stadium in New Jersey. On October 1, 1977, the Cosmos arranged a game against Santos, Pelé's old club from Brazil. The biggest crowd in American soccer history up to that time, 75,616, filled every seat. In the first half, Pelé played for the Cosmos and scored a goal. In the second half, he switched sides and played one more time for Santos. He ended his career with a total of 1,281 goals. He was 36 years old. Before the game, Pelé spoke to the fans. He thanked them for supporting him. Then he called on the people in the stands to repeat one word, over and over, expressing his feelings for his fans, for the game, and for people everywhere. He called out, "Love, love, love." The fans roared back all the love to Pelé. At halftime, he gave his Cosmo jersey to Donino to thank him for getting him started in soccer. And he hugged Rosemary after the game. The players from both teams carried Pelé off the field for the final time. After retiring for playing, Pelé chose to work with several businesses in Brazil and spent time with his children. Rosemary had given birth to their daughter Jennifer, their third child, in 1978. As always, Pelé tried to help children and others. He continued to travel and to hold soccer clinics that were sponsored by Pepsi. He made sure to meet as many children as he could. As one of the most famous people in the world, he was greeted by presidents and royalty wherever he went. In 1994, he was named a worldwide Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. He was 54 years old. In 1995, he was named Minister of Sports for the government of Brazil. He took advantage of this job to once again make his life better for Brazil's soccer player. By 1998, he had created rules that made soccer clubs treat their players more fairly. The government passed the Pelé law, which helped free players to change teams, provided insurance for their injuries, and encouraged owners to pay them more. Pelé's family continued to grow. He had divorced Rosemary over 10 years earlier, and in 1994, he married Astria Lemos. Pelé and Astria had twins, Joshua and Celeste, 2 years later. At the end of the 20th century, votes were taken around the world to name the best soccer player of the century. Pelé was the winner. In nearly all of them, the World Organization for Soccer, FIFA, named him one of two players of the century too. Pelé divorced Astria in 2008 and married Macria Akwe in 2016. He continues to act as a spokesman for companies that are interested in having one of the most famous athletes in the world represent their business. He also helps raise money for charities, including UNICEF and a children's hospital in Brazil. He still meets with children around the world to encourage them to play soccer. Pelé has dazed fans with his amazing soccer skills for decades. He remains an international superstar and the greatest soccer player in the world. He has become a symbol for the game of soccer itself. Pelé is simply the best. Who is Pelé? Bonus questions. What are all these right? A boy from Brazil who couldn't afford cleats and once played on a team called the Shoeless Ones. A dedicated teenager who mastered the famous basketball kick. The greatest soccer player of all time. Find out of who was Pelé, these answers, in the comments and review our Who Was Pelé or the books and the series that I post on YouTube. So better get on to it. Thank you for listening. Hope you subscribe. Again, hope you comment, share it to other players. Thank you for listening.